There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
Let me give you a brief lay of the land. I just got done recording my entire show, and I just saw a clip of Pam Bondi effectively admitting that there are naked pictures of there are pictures of Donald Trump with half naked, as Sheldon Whitehouse categorizes them, young women. We'll find out eventually just how young those women were. But the theme today seems to be, from all of the videos that I've already recorded, the entire show is about the most important questions that we want answers to. Sometimes are the ones they refuse to answer. The questions that are refused to be answered are oftentimes the ones we need to focus on. And this question from Sheldon Whitehouse to the Attorney General of the United States of America might just be the most important question of all. And it is, in the Epstein files that the FBI has possession of, that are in the possession of the Department of Justice, with you as the head of the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, are there photos of Donald Trump that Jeffrey Epstein had of him with half-naked young women? And the fact that she refuses to answer tells you everything you need to know. It is practically an admission that Donald Trump is guilty and that those photos do exist. Watch this, what might end up being a turning point in this investigation, a turning point in the history of the United States. Big time.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
You know what that wasn't? That wasn't a no. Have you seen these photos? Do you have these photos? All she had to do was say, those don't exist. That's not a real thing. Why are you saying that? You know what she did say? You just watched it. Subterfuge, distraction, your donors. The only thing she didn't say was, no, those photos don't exist. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. That is a monumental event in a questioning of a witness, of an answer from the Attorney General of the United States of America, the head of the Department of Justice, who sees fit that her job is to actually protect Donald Trump from accusations, credible accusations, that he raped children. She was given a second chance to answer the question, and then it got even worse. She didn't even provide an answer. She just gave a cold stare across the room.
Did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
Somebody's guilty. Look, if the topic and the subject matter weren't so serious, if there weren't dozens, if not hundreds of victims, how many we don't know Donald Trump touched? And I don't mean touched physically, although I guess it also plays that way. How many did he have his hands up? I don't mean that. How many was he involved with? And the fact that the Attorney General, who has intimate understanding of what is contained in the Epstein files, the fact that she won't just flatly say no, tells you everything you need to know. Tells MAGA everything they need to know. Tells QAnon, the Save the Children people, everything they need to know. This is your guy. All she had to say was, nope, that's not in there. She didn't. Why didn't she say that? It's not because the question was so morally repugnant, I won't dignify that with a response. No. Her job is to protect Donald Trump, but also to not perjure herself. And to say those photos don't exist, if they do exist, would be perjury. The same charge that she is bringing against James Comey as Attorney General of the United States. Perjuring himself is what they claim he did to Congress. If she says no when they exist, it'd be perjury. Of course, the president could pardon her for that. Look, you're supposed to protect me, Pam. You're supposed to protect me, Pam. There is no low too low for these people. There is no action of Donald Trump too reprehensible for them to get in front of and try to protect him from. Just release the files. If there's nothing in them like you claim, Donald Trump will be fine, right? If he did nothing, there will be no black mark against him. There's no behavior that will besmirch his already good reputation. Instead, what we get is this: a senator, a seated United States senator asking a pointed, direct, obvious question that should be asked. There were reports of this. Jeffrey Epstein showing photos of Donald Trump with half-naked children or women. We don't know because you won't answer. What's your answer? You get donations from blah, blah, blah. Could there be a starker answer that communicates the guilt of Donald Trump? That's the question I have, and I will pose it to you. What do you think? You can comment below this video.
Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
The president is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard.
You can learn a lot from what people don't say, especially in politics. Yesterday, Caroline Leavitt was confronted by Caitlin Collins from CNN asking one specific question. And it was what she refused to answer that lets you know what is important in this moment. A critical element of what we get from the press, from answers from these MAGA people, we can look to the things they refuse to answer as a roadmap of what thing to continue to drill down on, right? So I'm going to set this clip up. I want to remind you, as I always do, of what the question was, so you can see what her response to the specific question was. Caitlin Collins asks, which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there? Which local officials who are on the ground, who know the situation in Portland, which of them are saying, oh my God, this is an insurrection. Oh my God, this is an invasion. We need the military. Which one? Anyone. What local official? Watch Caroline Leavitt panic, scramble, freak out, avoid answering this specific question.
A federal judge over the weekend that the president had appointed to the bench in his first term in office basically argued that he could not deploy other states' National Guards to Portland, basically said that it was untethered, his argument, to what is actually happening on the ground. Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate. And if you look at what has happened in Portland, Oregon, for more than 100 nights, I was talking to our law enforcement team about it this morning, for more than 100 days, night after night after night, the ICE facility has been really under siege by these anarchists outside. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. They've been inciting violence. We saw, again, a guillotine rolled out in front of this federal building. And so the president wants to ensure that our federal buildings and our assets are protected. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And ultimately, in the case in Los Angeles, that judge ruled in the Ninth Circuit, that panel of judges ruled that those troops could remain and that the president was well within his authority to do so. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly. And we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this. And we're very confident we will win on the merits of the law.
But no local officials that you can point to that have said we need the National Guard? Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
Not what she asked. She didn't ask, does the president have the right? She didn't ask, where in U.S. code is Donald Trump authorized to deploy troops? Not what she asked. And the fact that Caroline Leavitt doesn't want you to know that there are no local officials, not a single one in Portland government, in Oregon government, that are calling for the National Guard to be deployed to occupy the American city of Portland, Oregon. Not a one. Also, the little wiggle room language that she uses around certain things. Night after night after night, she says, the ICE facility has been really under siege. It's almost like saying, well, essentially, basically, it's virtually under siege. It's under siege. She gives herself away with the language that she uses when she finally does try to answer some semblance of a question. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. Apparently that is the only predicate needed to deploy military troops to a municipality, is if cops were disrespected, is if the secret police, the masked, armed agents of the state of Donald Trump, if they're being disrespected, then we call in the military. Because these steely-eyed urban warfare experts, they can't stand being disrespected. And then I love this. She goes, well, listen, I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and take a look for yourself, because there's been many members of the press. Well, not press in this room, she says, but independent journalists. She means MAGA journalists. She means the Nick Sartors, the what's the little beanie dipshit? Tim Pool, the little Tim Pool sycophant, Nick Sartor, who got arrested the other night. That guy, that's the person you can rely upon for accurate information about Antifa and the threat that the left poses. These people in literal clown costumes protesting ICE out there. There is no under siege from Antifa. There is no under siege in Portland. And disrespect of a cop is not justification for anything. It's not justification for arrest. It's not justification for detainment and questioning. It's not justification. It's a badge of honor, is it not, for a cop? That's part of the job. You are the authority, the armed agent of the state. You can take a little disrespect. Yeah, but you're probably talking to a partisan Democrat official, not some MAGA cult member, she says. Come on. Anyway, again, this is hopefully some sort of education about media literacy for those of you out there. There are probably few, very few, but there will be some who don't pay attention that the question was not answered. They don't hold the question in their mind. I'm guilty of it sometimes. This is a moment to educate.
The president answered my questions on text about his hopes for this nascent deal.
Donald Trump gets to hide behind the black screen of texting.
Another video talking about Jake Tapper, a guy who I once held in decent esteem, someone that I thought was trustworthy, a notable figure in the media that you could go to and rely upon the things that he said. And then he bent the knee to Donald Trump. Like many in the media, Morning Joe and Mika Brzezinski rushing to Mar-a-Lago before he even took office to kiss his ass. Jake Tapper's another one of these characters who's making money hand over fist with his book with Alex Thompson about Joe Biden's cognitive issues. Yet, when Donald Trump is MIA, no one knows where he is, Jake Tapper conducts an interview, an exclusive CNN interview with Donald Trump via text message. You know that's not an interview, right, Jake? You do know it, right? And you also know, because you're so tuned in, so plugged in to the media landscape, that in the moment that Donald Trump is missing in action, you're doing text message interviews with him. No questions about his cognition. No concerns about, hey, sir, I come to you with tears in my eyes, sir. Why are you not in the public? Why are you not on camera? Why are you not at the very least on the phone with me during this interview via text? And Lawrence O'Donnell had some things to say about this last night. Let me tell you, too often in different occupations, there's like solidarity. We don't speak against our own. You see it with cops all the time. Well, you don't rat out a fellow cop, even if they're doing something illegal, criminal, immoral, unethical. You don't rat out another cop. We're all on the same team here. Back the blue, blah, 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 right? Well, I like that there are certain reporters who will call bad behavior out, who will point out the failures of others, especially in this moment, this precarious time in the history of the United States. We need more energy like this from Lawrence O'Donnell of MSNBC, calling out, not by name. I don't believe he uses Jake Tapper's name, but we know who he's talking about because he plays clips of Jake Tapper breaking down this extraordinarily dangerous moment in our history and in how the media deals with Donald Trump. Watch Lawrence O'Donnell, and we'll talk about it on the other side, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to play more of Jake Tapper's segment. Watch this.
And so yesterday morning, CNN presented a so-called interview with CNN that they can't even prove was Donald Trump. They called it breaking news. They called it, quote, an exclusive new interview with President Trump. That's what they called it. Before the interviewer said this.
The president answered my questions on text about his hopes for this nascent deal.
What? You gave him the questions in writing? So now, instead of letting Trump hide in a phone call where we can at least know that it's him talking, Donald Trump gets to hide behind the black screen of texting? We actually have no idea who texted the replies in that so-called interview. CNN is unable to prove that Donald Trump was actually doing that texting. CNN has not revealed how long it took to get a reply to each of the 5 written questions that apparently got replies from someone who texted those replies, or someone who told Donald Trump what to text in those replies, or maybe it was from Donald Trump. The first question was, what happens if Hamas insists on staying in power in Gaza, to which the text reply, and we don't know how long this took, was, and we don't know who did it, the text reply says, complete obliteration. The final slow pitch softball question was, how do you think the government shutdown is going to end? That question got the empty answer it deserved. Someone texted this reply as an answer to that question of how the shutdown is going to end. Good, we are winning and cutting costs, big time, exclamation point. The interviewer then said, I asked a few other questions on text, still waiting for a response on those, Mr. President. Okay, what were those questions? Exactly which questions did Donald Trump refuse to answer? What could be more relevant in reporting an exchange that is supposed to be with the President of the United States than including the questions he refused to answer? We have no idea. Any questions about Jeffrey Epstein or his sex trafficking friend, Ghislaine Maxwell? Any questions about Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell? We don't know.
More of this energy from journalists. And let me tell you, piggybacking off what I just talked about which questions are not answered, which questions are most feared by Republicans, by politicians in general, that should be something we talk about. And this is just another angle of that. The questions that Donald Trump refused to answer from the text messages of Jake Tapper are important. So important that we should know what those questions are. Jake Tapper, in many areas here, is failing at his job. He is protected by the United States Constitution's First Amendment, the free and fair press, the only occupation listed in the Constitution as protected, granted special constitutional protections. And Jake Tapper shit in the bed. To please, to cozy up to Donald Trump, the President of the United States, throwing Joe Biden under the bus for cognitive decline, yet not a question in sight for Donald Trump. Nary a probing question from Jake Tapper. Or maybe there was, he's just not letting us know what those questions were. And they did, I'm not going to play it. You get the vibe from what Lawrence O'Donnell played there. They did play this out like it was some kind of an exclusive CNN interview with the President of the United States. You don't know who's on the other end. Anyway, all of this is good information to take into your week, to take into your year, to take into this second administration of Donald Trump, knowing where the weak points are in media coverage. And CNN right now is absolutely, generally one of those weak points. There are weaker points in the chain of CNN. Jake Tapper is certainly one of them. There are others, but there are people who do good work. Manu Raju does great work over there. There are many people who do good work. I'm going to talk about Boris Sanchez today. He's another one. Does good work. You can rely upon him to ask the tough questions, to ask the tough follow-ups, to not allow the non-answering bullshit to continue. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. Please make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 1.5 million subscribers by the end of the year. And with your help, I can do that. You can also like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily. And if you'd like to sound off in the comments, please do. Or you can leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com.
That lady is a walking nightmare.
You're about, I know you for 20 years. You're about 5'10", 11.
Yesterday, I did a video about AOC's over the weekend Instagram Live where she admonished her audience. She encouraged her audience to laugh at these freaks, to mock these freaks like Stephen Miller. And she made a funny quip about how he seems like he's a guy. She's never seen the dude, but he seems like he's a guy who's 4'10". He seems like a guy who's, because it's not a problem to be 4'10", but he seems like a guy who's 4'10", but who's angry about being 4'10", and he carries that energy with him. And it's okay to mock these freaks. That's what she said. And yesterday on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News, Stephen Miller was forced to sit through this humiliation while they played a brief moment from her Instagram Live and also asked Stephen Miller to respond. And let me make a mea culpa moment. I was wrong. I think I was wrong. So I'm here to make a correction that AOC was correct. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was correct about Stephen Miller, that he hates it. I thought maybe he was so wretched and putrid and vile and poisonous in his being that he reveled in the mockery. He likes it, I thought. Maybe he likes it. Well, I was wrong, because if you watch this clip of him watching it take place in real time and then him having to respond to it, he didn't like it. Maybe he is one of these guys that, look, it's one thing if I start making fun of you, but, your peer of age, I think she's about his age. So when a pretty lady starts making fun of you and you're just a little Gollum-like figure, it's a little different situation. So watch this, him forced humiliation. You'd think he'd get turned on by that. I guess not. Watch Stephen Miller respond to AOC while Laura Ingram really tries to back clean up here and try to provide some cover for Stephen Miller.
President Trump is not going to stand for it. That's the bottom line.
Stephen, AOC is you're her favorite target apparently on Instagram. Check this out.
He looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10", and he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10" that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible. Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them.
Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them. I wish I had a hoodie on. I mean, are we trying to play sorority sister as elected official? I don't know. I was at a sorority over the weekend over in Texas. I felt like I was back at the sorority house, except they had more sense. Stephen, quick response.
Well, we knew that her brain didn't work. Now we know their eyes don't work. So she is a mess, right? What a train wreck. What a train wreck.
I think you should just get a hoodie.
It's great.
You should just wear a hoodie from now on and respond to her in a hoodie. It should be hoodie to hoodie. Stephen,
yes,
thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the important point is that every time she's on TV, Republican approval ratings go up, Democrat approval ratings go down. That lady is a walking nightmare.
You're about, I know you for 20 years. You're about 5'10", 11. About 5'10", yes. So 4'10", yes. I don't know what she can't say. All right, Stephen, thank you very much.
What's the obsession with her wearing a hoodie while she's at home doing an Instagram Live? That's the best you got, Laura? She's wearing a hoodie? Oh, it's a disqualifier. This representative, this congresswoman wearing a hoodie. Oh, the humanity. She's wearing a hoodie. Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them. I wish I had a hoodie on. I mean, are we trying to play sorority sister as this is an elected official? I know I was at a sorority over the weekend in Texas. I felt like I was back in the sorority house, except they had more sense. Stephen, quick, respond. Oh, it is so good. Well, we knew her brain didn't work. You're really going to come at this with her brain didn't work. I guess the only thing I'd have to say to that is nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
So keep telling us about politicians whose brains don't work, Stephen Miller. And then I love the crosstalk. It was such an awkward, they had a brilliant moment to take down AOC, to have some constructed banter between them, and they failed. They botched it. What an absolute nightmare this segment was, while trying to impugn the brain power of AOC. One of the smarter members of Congress, by the way. But when you spend night after night after night defending it can only good happen.
It can only good happen.
It kind of skews, I think, your take on what the political landscape is and who is smart and who is not. When you work for and you work in service to the least intellectually curious president this planet has ever known, maybe from any nation, it says something.
They have a sniper on top of a building, firing a high-caliber rifle.
The National Guard isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one.
Speaking of the sad about being 4'10", Stephen Miller, he rest assured he says he's 5'10" or 5'11". He's not quite sure, but it's not 4'10". He took to the airwaves, not just on Fox News yesterday, but also on CNN, where Boris Sanchez, someone who does generally very good work over at CNN, asked him a series of questions about the actions of the federal government, the proposed invasion and occupation by military troops of an American city, another American city, Portland, Oregon. And this exchange is really something else, except for when it got to YouTube, when it made it to YouTube, there was like a roughly 15 second piece that was just ham-fistedly edited out. And I got questions for CNN because it may have been the most important statement made by Stephen Miller, where he says, when in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies? Which would beg the question, where was Stephen Miller on January 6, 2021, when Trump supporters, armed white supremacist allies of Stephen Miller, erected a hangman's gallows on the lawn of the Capitol while they chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," while they hunted and stalked Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi? Where was he during that? But that particular moment was edited out of the version that made it to YouTube. Here, and you'll see at the end of the clip, it cuts from like 2:50 p.m. Eastern time to like 2:53, all crazy. And they left out maybe the most important aspect of this interview. But I'm going to give you the full picture here. So let's start with the edited clip as part of this interview.
Police have made something like 70 total arrests since June, and there are no reports of buildings being burned to the ground. The White House cited a guillotine being rolled out as like a public display of rebellion, but there isn't actually a threat that these demonstrators are going to overthrow the government. Are you concerned that that response weakens your legal argument?
No, they are actually, as we speak, trying to overthrow the core law enforcement function of the federal government. Boris, this is, I think, where we're talking past each other. When ICE officers have to street battle against Antifa, hand-to-hand combat every night to come and go from their building, when they try to exit in a vehicle, when they are swarmed and surrounded and they try to tip the vehicle over, when people bring weapons to an ICE facility to try to engage in direct violent assault against ICE officers, what is the purpose? It is to prevent Immigration and Customs Enforcement from carrying out the mission the American people elected them to do.
You make the case that these are terrorists, but in what we've seen thus far,
you see, they're trying to make the argument, the Trump administration and MAGA are trying to make the argument that this is an insurrection. This is an attempted overthrow of the United States government, the likes of which, to use Donald Trump's language, we've already seen. We know in modern times what an insurrection looks like because we suffered through one on January 6, 2021. when an armed mob of psychopaths, of white Christian nationalists, of neo-Nazis attempted to overthrow the United States government, to reinsert Donald Trump as president of the United States, in spite of the fact that he lost by 7+ million votes to Joe Biden. It was violent. We witnessed it. There was feces smeared on the hallway, in the hallways of the United States Capitol. A Confederate flag traipsed through the United States Capitol. Important stuff. Stuff that should not be ignored, especially by the mainstream media. And look, I'm not putting this on Boris Sanchez. I don't think he controls the YouTube edit here. He's just in the moment asking the questions. But why was this particular moment edited out of what you just watched? Watch this.
When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies night after night around FBI buildings or ATF buildings or DEA buildings? This is the textbook definition of domestic terrorism.
When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies, he asks. Here's a moment. Here are several other moments we'll just put on screen while I'm talking about it. There were many moments on that day where it was absolutely tolerated, even by the Democrat President Joe Biden, who ended up taking office on January 20th at noon in 2021. And he appointed Merrick Garland, the radical left lunatic who did not see to the conviction of the man who incited the insurrection against the country, who encouraged and promoted political violence in his name. It was tolerated to the point where there were a few convictions and they were also pardons. Joe Biden had to go so far as to pardon the committee members who were investigating the insurrection so that Donald Trump would not convict them and persecute them using the power and weight of the federal government. You see, this entire thing is attempting to make arguments that are ridiculous arguments, that do not stand to reality, the test of what the actual facts are and what reality is. And in this second clip from later in the interview, you'll see that because they're trying to say that they're keeping ICE facilities safe. And that the reason is because there's snipers on roofs taking shots at ICE agents. Even though that took place in Dallas, that took place in Texas, and they're not sending the National Guard to Texas. They're not federalizing. They're not invading the state of Texas and occupying it with military troops. They're sending them elsewhere. And this, much to Boris Sanchez's credit, was pointed out. And watch Stephen Miller panic. Oh, you just walked right into that one, he says. Watch this.
If a Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a fear?
And they're posting pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high-caliber rifle at a ICE facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaged in vehicle ramming attacks.
But the National Guard isn't being sent to Texas.
Because it's a
the National Guard isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland. Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
they've arrested
we need
some
to use
70
National
people
Guard
since
and federal
June.
Troops
They've been
to
arresting
fill in
folks
that
on the
breach.
ground. They've been arresting folks on the ground. They refute what you're saying outright.
Boy, you just walked into that one. Walked into what one, Steve? Mr. 410? What did he walk into? You're saying you're predicating a military invasion of an American city on something that didn't happen in that city or state. Makes total sense, Stephen. Makes total sense. Let's invade Portland, Oregon because of a criminal act that took place in Texas. That's how law enforcement works. Yeah, absolutely. There was shoplifting at Walgreens, so let's go invade CVS. MAGA laps this up with the spoon. They can't get it fit enough of this bullshit into their mouths, just savoring the flavor of all of the lies from Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. The rest of us, on the other hand, we see what's going on here. And it's going to be reflected in the midterms. They are talking themselves out of power. They are talking themselves out of influence, because every moment that they lie, every moment that they provide distraction, every moment that they refuse to answer clear, pointed questions about the failures of their policies is a moment that people are starting to wake up. I really hope that to be true.
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long.
You haven't heard that name in so long? This guy is guilty. Donald Trump again was asked the question about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted child sex trafficker, convicted participator in the rape of children, Ghislaine Maxwell. And Donald Trump is, at the very least, the most charitable and fair interpretation is that he's considering it. The man who leads the party that's the party of family values, heavy air quotes. The man who leads the party that has been on a crusade to save the children. Disparate conspiracy theory movements have sprouted up around child sex trafficking, around Jeffrey Epstein. They usually ignore Donald Trump's long association with Jeffrey Epstein. But that same movement doesn't seem to have the fervor for getting to the bottom of what's going on here. And every moment that Donald Trump gets a moment to address questions that are facing him about this, he just admits, yeah, I had something to do with raping those kids. It is obvious. The amount of labor, the amount of effort, the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that has gone in to extricating Donald Trump, from covering Donald Trump, any association. Here's to another year of wonderful secrets, Jeffrey. Enigmas are ageless, Jeffrey. They're doing their best. And Donald Trump yesterday in the Oval Office was asked by KAITLAN Collins about this, about the plan, about the possibility of pardoning a convicted child rapist in Ghislaine Maxwell. I left on the beginning of it because I really want to just show the flavor for the chaos in the Oval Office, because the first question you're going to hear is him being asked about Greta Thunberg and her release from an Israeli prison. Israel really getting it done over there. And Donald Trump just goes on this invective spewing tirade about how she's a troublemaker and she's angry and she's crazy and she needs to see a doctor, all this other bullshit. And then he launches into his consideration of pardoning a vile, sickening abuser of children.
And a follow-up question on Israel. Israel government has been arresting and deporting activists that were traveling to Gaza. Today, Greta Thunberg, for instance, also some...
Well, she's just a troublemaker, you know. I mean, she's no longer into the environment, now she's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now you can have her. She's just a troublemaker. Yeah, please.
Mr. President's term today, Mr. President.
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back in session.
Yeah.
They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly. Steve?
You made a decision on whether to...
You haven't heard that name in so long? This guy is guilty. How guilty is Donald Trump? On a scale of 10 to 10.5, how guilty is this dipshit? And also, he's gonna pardon her, right? Oh, I'm talking to people. I'm gonna talk to people. I haven't heard about this. Oh, who? who are you talking about? Say it. My question will be, is it going to pull a junior soprano? If you watch The Sopranos, you know, in later seasons when Uncle June, Corrado Soprano, acted like he was mentally deficient, acted like he had memory issues, and I can't be held accountable for my crimes because of all of this. It makes me wonder if Donald Trump is just going to kind of drift away. Oh, my mind is, you can't send me to jail. You can't prosecute me for my crimes against children, for my participation in the rape, the systematic abuse of kids. Oh, you can't hold me accountable. I have Alzheimer's now. Makes one wonder, does it not? Meanwhile, the Republican Party is doing everything in their power to distract from. Mike Johnson won't swear in duly elected members of the House of Representatives. He won't swear them in because they're the linchpin in actually releasing the Epstein files that he claims he wants nothing more than to release. The Republicans are out there covering for credibly accused child rapist Donald Trump at every point. Their entire agenda right now is to protect a credibly accused pedophile. They're the pedophile protector party.
Why not? If you are a New Yorker, you know Donald Trump, you know me. Many of them would give money to Donald Trump and give money to me. And money.
Why? What do you and Donald Trump share in common?
I don't think it'll come as a surprise to you that I believe Andrew Cuomo is a bad guy. I don't mean like a bad politician or not good at his job. I believe he is a bad person. He is an abuser of women under his employ. Aides, staffers, grabbing their tits, just being a gross perv. Terrible. This isn't even to talk about the job that he did as governor of the state of New York during COVID, just allowing all kinds of elderly people to die of COVID that didn't need to die. Just a gross mismanagement, and an arrogant gross mismanagement at that, because he, remember the press conferences he used to hold on an almost daily basis, proclaiming himself to be the savior of everyone in New York from COVID. We're actually doing the job well while Donald Trump shits the bed. That was the narrative. We found out later that wasn't the case. And now his alignment, both in how poorly he did his job, but also his supporters, his candidacy for mayor of New York City is being propped up by Donald Trump. Eric Adams was forced to drop out of the race by Donald Trump to leave only Andrew Cuomo. And yesterday, he did an interview with Stephanie Ruhle from MSNBC, and she asked some very pointed questions and was drilling down when she wasn't getting answers. And I want you to watch Andrew Cuomo, this seasoned, veteran politician, squirm and flail when she's asking him about why is it that you and Donald Trump share a lot of the same supporters, a lot of the same donors. And his answer is just galaxy brain nonsense that will convince no one. Even your most dyed-to-the-wool MAGA moron isn't going to buy this bullshit. That the reason is we're both New Yorkers. What? You're a Democrat from a legendary Democratic family in the state of New York, the Cuomos, Mario Cuomo. You think that people want to vote for the fascist, the guy who is invading U.S. cities with the United States military, who is disappearing people off the streets? You think that they support you and him at the same time because you're both New Yorkers? You assert that New Yorkers are so stupid that they believe Zoran Mamdani is not a New Yorker, that Eric Adams wasn't a New Yorker. It's just you and Donald Trump, huh? Two peas in a pod. Great. Watch this, and really, good job on the part of Stephanie Ruhle. Look, I know I shit on the media a lot, but when they do good things, I'm gonna call them out for that too. And she held him to the fire here. She made sure that she pushed him on getting an answer to this question. By the way, spoiler alert: no answer, no real answer ever came. Watch this.
Your opponent, Zoran Mamdani, believes that Trump is helping you, right? Trump has called Mamdani 100% communist lunatic. And Mamdani says Trump is clearing the path for you, and if elected, you will clear the path for his agenda. What do you say to that?
Let's go back to the word delusional. There is no governor in the United States of America, no elected official who fought more with Donald Trump than I did. None.
You share a lot of his same donors right now. There are a lot of New Yorkers who are very excited about your campaign, who are also very excited about Donald Trump. Don't tell me that's not true.
Are there New Yorkers who gave money to me and gave money to Donald Trump? Of course. Of course.
Why is that an of course?
Well, why not? If you are a New Yorker, you know Donald Trump, you know me. Many of them would give money to Donald Trump and give money to me. And money.
Why? What do you and Donald Trump share in common?
We're New Yorkers. They know me, they know him.
Yeah, but let's just stay on this, and I don't want to take too much more of your time because I'm surprised by this. You think that something about Donald Trump makes someone give Donald Trump a check and Andrew Cuomo a check. What is that thing that the two of you both share?
I think there are people who know him and people who know me. I think
what are those things?
The personal knowledge. He lived here. I live here. You may be a friend of Donald Trump. You may know me. You may contribute to him. You may contribute to me.
How much stumbling and bumbling and panic and lurchy, I don't know what to do here. She's not letting me do the politician thing. The interview did go on after that clip that I just played. And she let him talk a little longer than I would have liked, that I would be critical of. But look, at this point, with the media landscape the way it is, I'm only going to bitch about the things that I think are super critical. And we got this out of the way. This was on TV. People are going to be able to see this because people like me are going to share it and talk about it. And this was a failure on the part of Andrew Cuomo. There should have been an answer at the ready, a predetermined, this is going to get brought up. This is your answer to this. The fact that they don't makes me wonder what they think is going to happen in this race. If there's some kind of October surprise, or if they're just going to rely on Donald Trump interfering outright and explicitly in the election, because this was a failure on the part of the Cuomo campaign to not have an answer to this. It's not just Staten Island that supports you and Donald Trump. There are MAGA people in the city of New York who are supporting your candidacy, Andrew Cuomo, and that should tell you everything you need to know. How much crossover do you think Hakeem Jeffries has with Donald Trump voters? How much crossover do you think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has with Trump voters? If your wheels are spinning, you're not aware of the political landscape well enough. He is being supported by not only Trump supporters, but by Donald Trump himself. That's the candidacy. That's the legacy of Andrew Cuomo, is that he is two peas in a pod, birds of a feather, whatever, with Donald Trump. And that's a problem. It should be a problem because it's just another figure who has bent the knee to Donald Trump, who is kissing the ass of Donald Trump so he can be closer to power, so he can once again be a political figure in New York. Gross.
Just this morning, the Department of Education's website scratched a lot of things that happened under Ryan Walters' reign. PragerU partnership, the naturalization test for teachers, America First assessment, gone from the website.
Ryan Walters, I talked about it the other day, is out at the Department of Education. in Oklahoma as the superintendent, the State Department of Instruction or whatever they call it. And they're learning now, well, one, it's like they have to go and scrub all of the policies from the website and from being in action in the state. And as part of that review, they're also finding out all kinds of things about $150,000 salary here for a guy who's only showed up to work 4 times and $50,000 in bonuses for this guy who lives in Texas. All kinds of serious implications for Ryan Walters legally are coming down the pike. But let's start with the erasure of the website, because when Ryan Walters took office, he tried to implement a white Christian nationalist worldview into the education standards of the state of Oklahoma, which is already number 50 out of 50. Not good. And any parent who has any concern for the education of their children should be outraged that this is the guy who ran roughshod over the state's education system, putting in PragerU lessons into elementary schools, PragerU lessons that said, yeah, slavery's bad, but it's not as bad as being murdered. Yeah. Buying Donald Trump Bibles, the God Bless the USA Bible with Donald Trump's inaugural addresses and all the other, his signature, buying those to put them into classrooms. There's all kinds of nonsense that they're having to reverse right now. And it's turning out to be more of a task than they thought. Watch this from WFOR, local Oklahoma City affiliate.
So just this morning, the Department of Education's website scratched a lot of things that happened under Ryan Walters' reign. PragerU partnership, the naturalization test for teachers, America First assessment, gone from the website. Just goes to show that whoever Governor Stitt ends up putting at the department has a long road ahead.
Am I happy? No.
Lawmakers say normalcy is needed at the Department of Education. Some normalcy came as Educators Hall of Fame was put back up at the Department of Education Wednesday afternoon, after what many consider a controversial reign under Ryan Walters.
Wants Oklahoma to be the first state to put Bibles back in schools.
From the new social studies standards making false claims about the 2020 election, giving teachers transferring from blue states the America First test. Changes, though, have already happened. All right, let's take a look at some changes already made. This is the Department of Education website. This was September 22nd. When you scroll down, you saw a lot. Office of Religious Liberty, school choice links. And then when you clicked on this, Story of America, it took you to those social studies standards that were controversial, the test teachers had to take, the naturalization test. It also had several other links, including the PragerU partnership links. Now, let's look at this website. This is the current Department of Education website. It looks similar, but none of the links to the America site that had PragerU, has this Teacher of the Year thing, a school choice link. Other than that, it has a lot of changes compared to when Walters ran it.
I'm very hopeful that whoever is named interim will prioritize reparative work.
Reverend Dr. Shannon Fleck has been long outspoken against what she calls Walters' Christian nationalism.
Most atrocious, but his implementation of Bibles in public schools, specifically the Trump Bible.
Fleck is also a part of a lawsuit fighting back against the new social studies standards. Those are on hold in the courts until the next court date.
We very much need to go back over his tenure.
Revisiting things would probably not be an issue.
Shauna Montright represents educators. She says, let's get back to before Oklahoma was 50th in education.
Oklahoma social studies teachers were chosen again, and they wrote what they wrote.
While updates to the websites Wednesday show a glimpse of that change, it could be costly and take some time. And just before this show, the Attorney General Gentner Drummond, who is running for governor in that campaign right now, but his office just requested a state audit of the Department of Education going back to January of 2023.
And as part of this website and policy purge, this attempt to reverse the damage that has been done, the weird tests for teachers who come from out of state to teach in the state of Oklahoma, they need to take an America First kind of a test, all of this. They're having to reverse it, and in the course of that, they're realizing, oh shit, there was a lot more damage done here than we thought. So much so that the Republican Attorney General, Republican officials, because keep in mind, Oklahoma isn't even like Texas, where there's a pretty good split of Democrats and Republicans. Oklahoma and Idaho, there's a few states that are very Republican, that are overwhelmingly Republican. And even in this overwhelmingly Republican state of Oklahoma, they are starting an investigation that I believe is going to portend bad things for Mr. Ryan Walters and the mismanagement and the abuse of his position, paying people vast sums of money, pilfering the education system in the state of Oklahoma. Here, same network, same affiliate, talking about this on a separate day, the investigation.
Busy first day without Ryan Walters in charge of the Oklahoma State Department of Education. Here at the Oliver Hodge building, we actually saw folks coming out of this building carrying stuff from their offices, loading it into their cars here in the parking lot this morning. Still, though, a lot's uncertain about who will remain on staff whenever somebody new finally comes in and takes over. And while we didn't see him Wednesday, a top Oklahoma State Department of Education official told me Ryan Walters' chief policy advisor Matt Langston is out too. The official telling me Langston will not be returning to the department. It's not clear right now if he's still on the state payroll. We told you Langston draws a $150,000 a year salary from the state while also getting more than $40,000 in taxpayer-funded bonus payments. That's despite the fact he lives and works out of Texas full-time, where he runs his own political consulting firm.
His connections and people that the superintendent has brought on board are all political folks. They're all work on campaigns from Florida to Washington, D.C.
And public records we told you Oklahoma Watch uncovered showed he's only used his badge to get into the Department of Education building 4 times the first half of this year.
He is a ghost employee. He's not showing up to work, but he's getting a check from the state of Oklahoma.
Another controversial top advisor we can confirm has not left the department is Chief of Staff Matt Mueller, who was at the office Wednesday. Is Matt Mueller in today?
They're in today. They're in a meeting right now.
Off camera, I tried asking Mueller if he plans to resign. He did not respond. We first told you OSDE hired Mueller, a Florida-based political consultant, back in February, the state paying him nearly $50,000 in his first month on the job alone.
It's a huge waste, and we know it's a huge waste.
And State Senator Mary Boren says it all may be more than just wasteful.
If they were taking money to do a job that they weren't doing, that violates state law.
We also heard from numerous current Republican and Democratic state lawmakers Wednesday who all told us Mueller and Langston need to be at the top of the list of staff following Ryan Walters to the exit.
I think our new interim state superintendent is going to have to quickly restore order after this storm that we've been through collectively as a state.
Meanwhile, another bipartisan group of lawmakers I heard from Wednesday told me they want a full forensic audit examining Walters' tenure leading the Department of Education. And late Wednesday afternoon, Attorney General Gentner Drummond called on State Auditor Cindy Byrd to do just that, announcing, given the former superintendent's well-established history of mishandling tax dollars combined with new and ongoing allegations of misspending, I am now ordering an investigative audit of the Oklahoma State Department of Education.
We just need to make sure that whatever has happened before us and the fiscal mismanagement is appropriately attributed to the prior administration so that this new administration can have a fresh start.
So above all else, what this signals to me is the fact that Republicans, MAGA Republicans even, are very unhappy with what took place. They're going to find out the details of the person they elected to this position and then be like, what? Well, I didn't know that. I didn't vote for that. It's going to be kind of a replay of the 2024 election, that now there's all of these from Joe Rogan types and comedians who are disavowing the damage that they brought on, that they ushered in by supporting Donald Trump's candidacy. All of the farmers who were like, oh, I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for all of my workers to be deported. I didn't vote for these tariffs to ruin my business. Yeah, you did. And hopefully there's some sliver of the population in Oklahoma who will realize, yeah, I did vote for that. And maybe next time I need to be a little bit more clear-headed. Maybe next time I need to think a little bit more clearly about the person that I'm putting in and not be some knee-jerk reactionary believing that kids have litter boxes in their classrooms. Maybe don't be driven by conspiracy theory and moronic talking points from these MAGA America First Nazi fucks. Maybe that. We'll see what happens. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. If you live in Oklahoma, I'd really love to hear from you. You can also leave me a voicemail after you leave a comment, or in lieu of a comment, you can leave a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I will see you next time. I love and appreciate you very much. Be genuine and take care of one another.